Welcome to Mavericks of Senior Living. In the year 2040, we will have 18 million unfilled jobs in aging services. If that piques your interest, stick around because we're going to talk to someone who's working on solving that after a word from our sponsor.
We are delighted to have Dignity Hospice sponsor our show this month. Dignity Hospice of Colorado shares our passion and drive to serve humanity with honor, love, and care. They continually examine the way things have always been done and unceasingly improve the care they provide. As one of the largest privately owned hospice organizations in the state, Dignity's service offerings and consistencies have continually placed them at the top of the preferred provider choice list in many communities. Pro tip: they are one of the select few hospice organizations that offer 6 to 7 CNA visits per week. This, along with massage therapy and 1 to 2 RN visits a week, truly allows Dignity Hospice to provide exceptional care to their patients. Dignity serves patients and their families across the Denver area, from Castle Rock to Fort Collins. Dignity Hospice is a bright spot in the field of senior care in every sense of the word.
And welcome back in whole 18 million.
18 million.
Unfilled jobs. If that number doesn't shock you, then I don't know what will. So we are continuing down our Bright Spot series, and today we have the incredible Dr. Amy Dore, who is, I'd say, a trendsetter in where we're moving to inspire and educate those that are going to be moving into aging services leadership roles, or even aging services in general in the next, hopefully, near future, because obviously we need them. So Dr. Dore, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to see you, and I thank you for your support and being my cheerleader so that we can get to this point today.
Well, and it's not unfounded. I want our audience to know that Dr. Dore's program is the first in the United States. It is blazing trails, and we want to hear all about it. So, Amy, tell our audience about the program, but first tell them a little bit of your background and what got you here.
Right. So, we all tend to have a story, and mine, as far as my connection with aging services and caring and loving our older population, came from being surrounded by family and grandparents and great-grandparents, great aunts and uncles throughout my life. And also being able to care for my grandparents on both sides of the family. Being by the bedside when my paternal grandmother passed away really changed my life. And knowing that as a child I was blessed until my mid-40s to be able to have a grandparent, really, I think, helps define moments in your life and helps to provide direction. So I actually originally thought I wanted to be a nurse, and I started nursing school. And then I decided, no, for me, I wouldn't be the best nurse. So yes, I admitted that, and then decided, well, how can I still be in healthcare? And so this was in the 90s, and Metropolitan State University, actually it was a college at the time, had a bachelor's degree in the business side of healthcare, so healthcare management. So I completed that degree and, started working, and I continued my education, and then MSU Denver pulled me in and I started teaching part-time. And at that time, it was all on the healthcare management side. We did have a gerontology certificate and a minor at that time. And it was funny, at the recent Leading Age Colorado conference, I ran into one of my former students, and we were laughing about how she went through the gerontology certificate and or the minor, and how things have changed. I mean, it's a university now, and we've revamped all of the academic programming in this area. And I have been able to be a huge part of that, and it was just step by step. But I will tell you, I've been there 21 years, and it's just now in the fall semester that we'll see the start of the major. So, and the major is one of the main like foundational programs for aging services.
So 21 years you've been there, you've been growing the program, and some of it may be organically growing, but also you fighting for, we need more here. It's not just about the hands-on care. We know we need that, but we also need business-minded people who understand how to run the operation, who understand how to pull teams together and truly lead the way. So share what this is. What is this program? What types of opportunities would a student have?
Sure. No, I think the best way to describe it is, the major is the parent, and we have 3 other programs, which I'll briefly mention, but since the major is the newest one, and thank you, Francis, for putting that on the screen. So that tells you a little bit about where I wanted to go with the direction of this major. And so the easiest way to describe it is it's the business side of aging. With that said, I also wanted to be sure that we had the opportunity to include courses that would graduate a student that was well-rounded in aging services. Even if you're in the business side of aging, you do not get away from the other aspects, the psychological and the social aspects of aging and of death and dying. And so that was a course that I put in as a requirement for all students who go through the major. And
Sorry,
in
Dr. Dore,
addition,
I want to
sure.
clarify real quick. Death and dying is a mandatory course for anybody on this major track.
It sure is.
That's
It sure
important.
is.
And it
So
talks about hospice care, palliative care.
it does. We have 2 different ways students can take it, and one is either through the psychology route or the sociology route, because they kind of, share, in a sense, a similar course. So depending on what they want to do for their career, they can attack it at either angle. And
Huh.
so we have a course like that, which, as you know, with you just mentioned the statistics. I mean, we need people who can care. So no matter if you are clinical and wanting to learn a little bit more about the business side, or you're in the business side, but you need to know a little bit about, how we care for our older population. It's all in this major. So
Thing.
I was, able to, I mean, the fun part is I was able to work with other departments throughout the university to say, hey, can I borrow your class? Because I won't pretend to know everything. We don't want to do that. We want to work together. And from that, it has really stirred up some great collaborations. Just got a message through LinkedIn today from another person at MSU Denver saying, hey, do you think we could do this together? So that is what is so exciting about this. And the way the major was built has mandatory courses like we just mentioned. So we're going to do everything from looking at, introductions to long-term care. We're going to look at ageism and ableism as a course, and we are going to dive into the long-term care management, the administrative side. With that, and along with courses like death and dying, we have courses. One is called Aging Warriors, and that's understanding the aging process for men. And so that, unique courses that will be very, I think, essential to how we care for our older population. Of course, other traditional courses that you want to build in, things like ethics and looking at social gerontology. We also have patient navigation in there because it is,
Interesting.
patient navigation and community health navigation. We really saw the need for that during the pandemic. So I borrowed that. And so it is something that students can know they have a core, but then they also have 12 credit hours of electives that they get to choose from a long list that can help them provide direction, if they want to go in a certain way with their career.
That's amazing. It's fantastic. And I want to go back and touch on a word you used, and it was collaboration, because we're all about collaboration. And the fact that you went to, you were so resourceful. You went to your other classes and said, okay, what is applicable here and how can we add that in? And, I don't know enough about the education system if it operates in silos, but I imagine if it's like most other industries, there's a little bit of silos that you were breaking through and bridging. And congratulations on that. It's no small feat to do what you have done and put this program together. And it starts in the fall, yes?
Yes,
Yeah.
right. The major officially starts in the fall. I have students who are working on things like the Aging Services digital badge, and they might, continue on. And so we're advising for it now. We're getting students ready for it now. The courses have already been offered and tested. So that's the other great thing, is that before it gets approved by curriculum, we test them out and see how it is received and make any little tweaks, and then it will go live. Basically, it's already in the catalog because Francis was able to pull it up, and I'm starting to try to market it now so that we can spread the word.
What are you seeing right now from the initial responses from students or other people in the aging services space?
I think we're still in the infancy phase of people going, really, that's out there, that's available. And but when they do know about it, they are very excited. And I think, Catherine, I think you met a couple of my students at the conference maybe. And one of them, Jackie, is a perfect example of a student who didn't know this was an option, and then decided that once we just talked about it through advising, that she wanted to do it as a minor, because at that point, the major wasn't available. So she's doing public health and then aging services, and she is now working at a community in long-term care and skilled nursing. And so, and she hasn't even graduated yet. So she said, she talks about how it really changed her trajectory for her career just by even talking to me about it. So I think the feedback has been great so far. I think students who wish it could have been offered earlier, but you're right, it takes a little bit of time to do this in academia, but we have it now, and now I need to prove that it is definitely needed, and that the data is what it shows us. And I used all that data when I went forward with the proposal for the major, and it's something that is not going to change. We can't wish this away. We can't dream it away that our population is going to have a dramatic demographic shift. In fact, embrace it like we are. Embrace it like the three of us are, and let's make the world better and our life better for those that we care for so much.
Now, you mentioned you had 3 other components. As you said, a digital badge. Could that be applicable to somebody that's already in the field and wants to learn more? Or kind of talks about, we have a lot of people that obviously need education, want education, that are currently working in aging services. So what options are available for them through what you're doing?
Well, thank you for asking. I approached this knowing that our student population at MSU Denver is extremely diverse, and we also have a lot of students who are first generation. And so I wanted to be able to think of that student who never thought they could ever go to college, and how could they get started? At the same time, how can we be flexible and nimble and be a program that students can come back to if they've already had some college experience? So the Aging Services Digital Badge is 2 classes, and in those classes we have incorporated what we call milestones that will essentially be the badge. And just by taking those 2 courses, the students get the badge. They can earn the badge. And so there's one additional milestone not included in the courses, but sometimes it gets included just because of all the announcements I make and opportunities for students. And that's an experiential type of opportunity for students to either go and shadow someone, to go to a conference like my students were going to talk to someone and interview someone, or even doing storytelling with an elder. And so that would be the 5th milestone. And so students can do that, and then they get the digital badge, and it kind of looks like a patch that we'd wear, in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, but it's digital. And so I have a student who she was our first digital badge recipient. The way she did it was throughout her academic journey. She just added the 2 classes, which we can do. We can build it into what you're already doing. So it can be an on-ramp, it can be included, or it can be an add-on, because I've also had people just come back and want to do the badge who've already have some college experience.
That's fantastic. And the digital badge is such a great thing for them to put on their resume, put on their LinkedIn profile, and really show that they have gone a little extra mile there, and have some. I like how you said earlier you wanted your students to be well-rounded and when they come out of the program. So it's not just business, it's business and care and the process, the understanding the actual process of someone aging. One of the reasons I so enjoy working with Francis is he had the experience with his grandfathers, and he owns and operates memory care homes, and he can be hands-on and he can be business. And I think it's really, really rare to find that, and we need more of that.
Oh, do we ever? I mean, especially with the change of what we're seeing in long-term care and, the skilled nursing closing, we're seeing, I think, a new model, or what will be a new model over these next few decades of what long-term care is. And so how can we be part of that, and how can we be part of the solution
Uh,
to it? And that's really what I would like to see. And if my legacy could be even getting this program started and getting people going and including those in the industry, that is really my goal.
I, I love, first off, what you're doing. I still think what needs to also happen is our legislators, our politicians, those that are writing policy and leading, needs to have some type of this understanding as well too. So hopefully this will spark their desire to learn more, because I feel like we know the changes we need to make. But if it's not happening at the legislative level, or it's happening in a direction that's counterintuitive to what's going on the ground, we're going to have even bigger problems. And so I think we need, these courses, these badges, these certificates, all these things that people can take to truly understand. When we say we need change in aging services, it's not just a back of the napkin type thing. It is from years of watching the evolution of where we are today, and some of the decisions that were made at federal, state levels that have impacted, our older adults and their funding and things like that.
It is so much. I mean, sometimes I feel a little bit overwhelmed of what needs to happen, what needs to change, and how can I be part of that? How can I make sure that, we're doing the right thing? And one thing that I forgot to mention is that in the major, I included our health policy class, so that students, we're
Love it.
graduating the next generation, and so they will be able to help us.
That's wonderful. And that's something that we're talking about at Collaboration in Aging as well,
Right.
is how to advocate for legislation. So, yes, fantastic. And it was a delight to meet two of your students in my speaking session. So they asked amazing questions. Clearly, they understand the industry, and I know one of them works in it, but the questions that they were asking were really high value questions that showed they have an understanding of the whole broad process. So really fun.
And so, Dr. Dore, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I mean, I really want to highlight again, this program here. I mean, this is an incredible, endeavor you've tackled, and it's going to have a resounding impact on, the future of aging and the leadership of aging. And I think just aging in general, to know that there's additional resources and training that someone can get to improve their outlook, but also their tools in their tool belt, right, to be able to be successful in this. So I just, can't thank you enough for going down a road that, very few have even considered, let alone actually been as successful as you have been. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And, if you could just help me spread the word, I mean, friend me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and, let's see what we can do for our students, because we have students needing internships. We just have students I have a student right now who wants to shadow people, and so let's see what we can do together.
That sounds great. And so best way for them to learn more about the program is obviously MSU Denver and the catalog, but other ways that they can find out more, or how can they move forward if they're curious to learn more?
I think, at this point, it'd be best to reach directly out to me. I'm very happy to speak to anyone. We do have general advisors that help also. We're building, we have the makings of our website going on right as we speak. And, but I am happy to chat with anyone. So either emailing me directly or through LinkedIn to find me, and then we can just go from there.
Perfect. I will definitely make sure to share that information.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Dore, for everything that you do. Enjoy your trip to London next week with your students. Teaching them the international side of healthcare.
Which is a whole other fish that's opening up.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. Very exciting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Definitely be spreading the word. So look for more information and contact in our show notes, as well as, like Dr. Dore said, look her up on LinkedIn as well. So now we are moving on to the Maverick moments.
All right.
You got me first?
Yeah.
All right. So I figured we'd go with the university trend here. And this is out of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. A little bit of a discussion around senior living on college campuses.
What?
Yes.
Really?
So, yeah. So
This is great.
There's been a bigger push to have senior living communities on or near college campuses, and kind of how will that intergenerational work, and take a look. From the article here, it sounds like Arizona State University in Tempe is key for some of the older adults that live nearby. They can engage on campus life, attend some classes, just continue to have that vigor and reduce that loneliness and isolation that far too often creeps in when we're not really having that focus.
Yeah.
So it's something that's gaining popularity. It looks like it's happening around the country. There's something happened at State University of New York's Purchase College. An on-campus senior living community is expected to open in fall 2023. And then in Maryland at Goucher College, there's also a plan for a nearby senior living community that may expand onto campus. So I'm sure there's these are just the beginning of the trend of shifting, right? And could there be ways to offset housing costs if, students volunteer or work there, or some ways to get to some affordable, housing component, yet have a great intergenerational, experience?
Interesting. I wonder if we circle back with Dr. Amy Dore about a senior living on campus there at Aurora campus.
Aurora, yes.
Wow, super fun. Interestingly enough, I have a client in Chicago who wanted a senior living client who had a fourth floor specifically laid out to house college students, and ran into legislative issues.
And that's why, that's always a concern, is labor law and legislation, and how does that impact? Again, if we're too rigid in our thought processes, we can't create new ideas. And again, it's one thing to have a new idea created.
Yeah.
It's another to get a roadblock from a legislative action that was put in 50, 60, 100 years ago, before this became I don't want to say it's a pandemic, but it's getting close to, we have some issues.
We have some issues. And what's really interesting is when you see articles where it's like, we're surprised. Yikes, we're surprised.
We're not surprised.
We didn't think it would really happen. Well, guess what? People have been talking about it for a long time.
Who's surprised?
Yeah.
If it's anybody that's in the industry, no one is really surprised unless you've had your head in the sand for, I don't know, 20 years?
20 years, maybe?
Years, maybe. I'll give you 10 years. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. 10 years.
That's right. It's actually the very first thing I heard when I started in this industry. And I want to say it was 2018 at a local networking event where actually Dr. Amy Dore was presenting data and information. So it is one of the first things I heard.
Yeah, I think too, where we've seen other things, like we know, I know I'm taking longer than my minute. I apologize.
That's okay. We can have your minute can just outshine.
We're looking though. I think again, what do we know?
It's your birthday. You get a little extra time.
Okay. What do we know most though? We know that we need to support our staffs more than just employees. We need to support our residents more than just residents, right? And the best way to do that, if you can create a community within a community where maybe there's child services, maybe there's younger adults that are trying to educate themselves and get experiences in the industry. But then at the end of the day, it all circles back that wisdom can be shared from the older residents, right? Wisdom, not knowledge, but wisdom. And then your staff can feel supported because there's maybe childcare on site, or there's ways for that younger child to have a grandpa for the day or grandma for the day during that interaction. There's so many things that if we shift from what we think it is today to what it could be tomorrow, that's where we're going to see great gains and great opportunities.
Totally agree. My heart is just full when you talk about things like that, because it matters so much. It's about connection.
It's about taking care of people, whether it's your residents or your staff or your children or your grandchildren. If we go back to aging is a human experience, how do we support everybody in that? Then we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Be okay.
Wow. How do I follow that up?
What do you got?
Well, so I ran across a program that I think is really cool, and it's for rural America, and it's in Kansas.
Okay.
It's for the entire state of Kansas. It's called Next Stage, NXT Stage.
NXT stage. Okay.
And it's actually a program where they're bringing together people in companies, healthcare companies. It's supported by Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Okay.
And they're bringing them together and asking them to pilot new programs and asking them, what are your challenges? What do you need? And then they're bringing in people who may have a solution or may have an idea for a solution to work with them. And I'm fascinated by this because
So the state's
rural,
actually asking
Mhm.
versus someone's approaching them. That's
Correct.
That's a new.
Correct.
That's new.
Yes. So it's really amazing to have this supported program that, and Kansas has a lot of rural. They have cities and towns and a lot of rural. And because of that, it's how do they improve their care across the entire state?
Right.
There's one county, Allen County, that raised their healthcare score or healthcare rating for the state of Kansas from, I might get the number wrong, I think it's like from number 83 to 38.
So wow.
Yes, a lot in just 8 years. So when what you focus on is what you can control and change.
Measure.
What you measure, yes, is what you can change. So it's just so powerful, and I love seeing this.
That's going to be interesting to see where that transpires, where it moves, because we are, we can't forget that, at one time America was a bunch of rural towns, right?
Right.
Or nowadays if they're proverbially being left behind because of lack of technology or lack of staff or people.
No Wi-Fi. How do you get connected if you don't have strong Wi-Fi?
Right. I mean, that is an equally as big of a challenge that we have. But I think it goes back to, what are we measuring?
Mm-hmm.
Right, what are we looking for? What are the outcomes we want?
Right.
And go back to a little bit of that destination postcard, right? Where do we want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we get there?
Yep.
Versus, this is the path we're on.
Right.
Where is that path leading you?
Right. Am I following the path or am I a trailblazer?
Correct.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, right.
So there we go. There's our Maverick moments. And we took a little longer, but a little shout out to Francis for happy birthday.
Thank you. It was yesterday.
Yes, I know, but still fun. Still fun.
All right, so let's talk here. Conference collab. Speaking of what Dr. Dore brought up, great plugs for us. I think. So,
yes. Thank you, Dr. Amy Dore.
So I think what's really powerful about this is it's a collaboration that we can tell has to happen everywhere, whether it's education, whether it's in the industry that's currently operating, whether it's from your legislation, whether it's from, your city leaders. We need everybody at the table and our older adults and their families and the direct care teams to do something that benefits one person. And that is the person that is aging. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So join us September 27th and 28th here in Denver, Colorado, collaborationandaging.com. I think you've missed the early
We still have
bird.
some great pricing for tickets.
Yeah.
We have a couple of sponsorships left. We have some still really, really good pricing options.
Yep.
And you get Denver in the fall.
And you get, there's no better place. And let's be real here. We attract innovators to this conference. It is about innovation. It's about thinking differently. And so if you're an innovator, if you have ideas, if you just want to learn what the innovators are talking about, come join us.
Or if you're a mover or shaker, you're disruptive, but don't know if you found your team or your little
your tribe. Yep.
Come on and swing by. And I promise this is going to be different. You're not sitting taking notes. This is interactive. This is emotional. I always say the best training occurs when you have an emotional response to what you're learning. And you're going to have a lot of that. It's going to be hands-on. It's going to be engaging. It's going to be people that want to shift the needle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time after, if we can't ignite some new leadership, if we can't empower other people to get in this space, what are we going to do by 2040 when we have projected 18 million jobs unfilled out of 23?
Yeah, 23 million.
And I always say stats are wrong. So I usually say add at least 20% to that. So we're going to have 20 million jobs unfilled for about 28 million jobs that we need. That's a big number.
We need force multipliers. We need different thinking, different systems, new ideas.
So we will see everybody September 27th, 28th. Visit collaborationandaging.com for the up-to-date pricing, up-to-date sponsorships. And we look forward to seeing everyone really soon. And we will see everybody on our next
Next
Bright
time.
Spots.
Yeah.